This is Oba Babatunde from SWAT, and you're listening to Rave It Up. Why's it taking you so long to get to us?
Hey guys, it's Lauren Yates from Rave It Up here, and today we're going to be having a chat over Zoom with Indian-American singer Anand Bhatt. Before we get into today's interview, we would like to give a shout out to our Patreons, Irene, Bev, and Michael. If you haven't heard of Patreon before, it is a great way to support us and keep us running and improving. You pick a membership tier that suits you and your budget per month, and in return for supporting us, we'll give you behind-the-scenes content and free stuff. You don't have to give much either. You can be a part of our Patreons for as little as $4 a month. Just visit patreon.com/raveitup. You can even donate through PayPal if you don't trust other sites. You can do so just through our email, raveituptv@gmail.com. If you have any questions, please do not hesitate to contact us. We appreciate anything you can do to support us. Now, let's get into this interview. Anand, welcome to Rave It Up. It is a pleasure to have you on our show finally. How are you going today?
It is going excellent today. I'm pretty excited to be on this show. I love this show, actually. You've got a good thing going.
Oh, thank you. Just before we started recording, guys, he's like, oh yeah, I just checked out some of your other interviews. I'm really excited.
I know, exactly.
I love that preparation. Thank you very much, Anand.
I needed to know what I was getting into with you, right?
Yeah, I know. I'm really going to chuck you in the deep end because I'm known for doing my research and asking some really good questions. So I hope you're prepared.
Okay, let's hope so. Let's hope so.
Well, since this is your first time on our show as well, Anand, we'd love to get to know you a little bit better. And I think starting from the beginning probably makes sense, right? So we can kind of find out how you made it to where you are today. So you grew up the youngest of two, and your father was a mechanical engineer and your mother was a school teacher. So how did your love of music come from? Because they're not in music.
Seriously, right? Those are completely non-creative fields, right?
I know.
Honestly, I was very fortunate that they actually listened to a lot of music. And they used to throw these music parties where they and their friends would come over and obviously have too much to drink and have a great time. And they would put on a bunch of music. They would sing along to music. They would have little jam parties together. And I think that influenced me at a very, very young age, right? So music was kind of luckily always around, even though they had very technical jobs.
That's great. So did you ever think of it as a career though when you're older? Is there any like plan B as they call it, something that we might be surprised at?
Oh, plan B, of course, being an Indian American kid, and I know this is true with my Indian Australian friends too. They want you to go to medical school or be an engineer or something like that, right? So you got to have some plan B.
Just like your dad.
You got to have some plan B. I did actually think I was going to be a neuroscientist at some point.
Wow.
But I got out of grad school. That schooling is a lot, and I was touring at the same time at that point already. So I was not passing I remember this one class we had where I had to come back from tour, and there's little brains around the room with toothpicks and pieces. And you're supposed to walk around and, say what part that is. I had no idea what I was doing, right? Because I was in Vegas and California for the, 2 weeks prior to that. And I'm thinking cocky guy, teenager I'm thinking I'm going to come back and I'll be able to wing it. I had no idea what was going on. As you can imagine, I completely failed that exam. Right. So, and to think that I would have several more years of this, no way. So I did compromise with a master's in like IT and management or something like that, which I almost never used, but still that was the almost backup plan.
Yeah. Does it really even matter when you're going out on tour? Like, come on tour. Doesn't that kind of mean you've sort of made it?
Yeah, I guess it depends. I mean, the rug can get pulled out from you and any day. And I've definitely had tours that cost me money, which is weird how that works. But that's I can honestly, my heart was not into the neuroscience, even though I loved it. I loved it as a kid. But you're like, hang out with celebrities who I grew up listening to in other states, or sit around in a laboratory somewhere, right? It was it was almost a no-brainer, pun intended.
Absolutely, and it's something you actually are passionate about and you love, so you got to do that for the rest of your life.
Right.
Well, I love doing my research on you because I found this really funny that your first public media like notice was when you were still in high school and you and your friends choreographed a really, fun dance
Oh,
where you
yeah.
actually made homemade monkey looking outfits. I was like, oh wow.
Oh my
And
gosh,
then,
you
like
know
the
all the
song
crazy
and the
stories.
dance even landed on Chicago radio, which is fantastic. What was the next step after that? Or was that just kind of like your 5 seconds of fame until you were older?
Oh no, that's the thing I think where the light bulb started going off for me. I don't know if it was the same for my friends and bandmates who, they may have just been having fun, but I was like, oh wow, this is doable.
Mm,
And that was we were having a lot of silly fun. But to be a high school kid with some quick local fame like that, I was hooked. I was hooked right away. So at that point, one of my other writing partners, Steve, from that group, he and I just went for it and we started writing more songs, trying to release more songs, and we just completely went for it. And then once we're on the radio, partly that and other radio interviews, and we just totally went for it. And then I joined other bands and side projects. Luckily in Chicago, there's a lot of big bands that actually were based out of there that had some fame maybe in the prior years, but they were still working bands, so you can get jobs and gigs, playing guitar in their side projects here and there, and then network that way. And
yeah.
it was full force. It was full force. That definitely lit the fire.
Yeah. Well, which is good. And it's can I say the rest is history?
Yeah, and the rest was history.
So, even to support yourself as a teenager as well, you performed as a dancing DJ, I love that name, at weddings and bar mitzvahs and corporate parties. Do you ever miss that side of the entertainment industry a little bit, playing covers and stuff instead of your own? Or,
Yes, yes, because it's a lot of it felt was handled by somebody else, right? Something like that. If you're doing bar mitzvahs and wedding, and a lot of it's just kind of fun. We're having fun, but there was a seriousness to it and a work ethic to it that actually felt like it was just like a job, like working in a grocery store, that type of thing. So there's a sense of security and a sense of fun at the same time that I think at a bigger professional level doesn't actually exist, right? You're always I always feel like you're on thin ice, right? In the entertainment industry on that, like I said, the rug can be pulled out from under you. So I definitely kind of miss that stuff. And it is very, very fun to be young and just pull out a couple of guitars at a college party and play cover songs, or people at a wedding crowd is the happiest crowd ever. You almost cannot screw up a wedding crowd. You just can't do it. Right, like every wedding performance is like you may as well be playing the Grammy Awards, right? Like it's because they're so happy, and like afterwards everyone's telling you how great you are and everyone's having a good time, and and that's and it's easy. They're cover songs. They're not your songs, right?
yes.
So you can spit out and do your versions of them, right? It's super fun. I absolutely do miss that.
So,
For sure.
looking back on those days as well, do you actually find, it kind of grew you as a person and got you ready for the industry, kind of doing those hard yards?
Yes, absolutely. Because there was a work ethic involved with those, where I've noticed with other colleagues that I've seen who went kind of straight into doing their own stuff, that there wasn't this, if you're supposed to be there at 8 a.m. and set up, and 2 p.m. again to sound check and go on at 8 sharp, or you lose your job that you're getting a paycheck for, right? Like without that, there's definitely a work ethic. And there were older managers of those businesses that were really good in keeping me in line, showing me the ropes. I mean, there was a lot of mentorship and a lot of responsibility, that I think I wouldn't have learned without that.
Well, DJing, I don't think is kind of like what we'd kind of consider the so-called normal job. Did you have any other
Yeah, well,
so-called normal jobs as well on the side just to help you pay the bills a bit more?
yeah, that's so funny. Yeah, I guess DJing doesn't kind of normal. It felt like a normal job at the time, that's for sure.
Yeah, you're like, this is just my life. This is
Yeah,
normal.
I mean, like I got to show up at the same place every day, right? But yeah, absolutely. I mean, as a teenager, I had normal jobs like working at pizza places, right? I learned how to make pizzas and retail. You got to work retail. But there, in my adult life, definitely I was a school teacher for a little bit.
Oh, wow. Following
And
in your mom's
that was
footsteps?
very strange because I was actually going on tour and somehow balanced that. I don't know how that worked, but that was a Catholic school teacher at that, and I'm not Catholic, so I'm very fortunate that that I was able to teach Catholic school as
That they
someone
let
who's
you
not
in.
Catholic. That they let me in, but what was the best part is I got a lot of days off. Catholics get a lot of days off. There's like this saint's day and that saint's day, and because not being Catholic, I didn't have to go to mass, so I had got a lot of time to just hang out and do nothing and surf the internet. Right? It was a pretty fun gig actually.
Yeah, why'd you leave?
And yeah, I know, right? Like I think about that actually. It was a pretty sweet job, but school teachers do not get paid a lot at all in the United States. At all. I think the healthcare benefits are great, but like the pay it was less than minimum wage. I hate to admit it, but
Yeah. Hey, at least
it's good,
bringing
meaningful work
attention
though.
to it.
Yeah. And obviously my passion was in, entertainment. So,
Absolutely.
And then quickly after that, I worked in, a corporate IT job, which, was interesting experience, but it was just so night and day from why am I here in a boardroom wearing a tie, talking about things I really don't understand. I was really faking a lot of those meetings on the technical level, right? Talking about things I do not understand, where I know I can be in Los Angeles and do a really fun Hollywood gig, by the end of the week, right? Like that was it was pretty tearing on that, right?
You've had a really cool life, haven't you? Oh my goodness. You have also been, quite privileged to also have so many people help you over your career. So like members of rock band Faith No More, they helped you. And then Rob Zombie showed you how to sign autographs. What tips did he have? I thought that would be pretty straightforward. You just sign your name.
Yeah, so did I. Like you would think you just sign your name. So get this, for anyone wanting to learn how to sign an autograph, apparently do not sign your name to other people's stuff. Don't do it.
Oh.
And luckily these days, most of it's selfies, right? Because if you sign your way the same way you do on checks and legal documents on somebody else's stuff, that's a very dangerous precedent to have somebody else have your signature hanging on the wall. So you want to come up with an entertainment one. And then the best tip from Rob Zombie was, and it's really interesting because I was watching him sign a lot, because back then what would happen is there were still record stores or CD stores, and an artist would come through and do a signing at a physical music store, and there'd be a line around the block, right? So he would have to sign thousands of autographs in that block of time. And I was very fortunate that one of the major radio DJs at that time for a big Chicago station was like, "Oh, I know you're a fan." And then we were on that station frequently enough, and he's like, "Oh, I know, Anand, you're a fan of Rob Zombie. You should come and meet him. Right? I'll put you on the guest list." I was very fortunate, right? I'm like, "Oh, yes, I'm showing up." And so I'm getting to stand next to Rob Zombie as he's signing them left and right. And he's talking to me, right? Because eventually it becomes very mechanical, as you can imagine, for a celebrity as he's signing autographs. Like he's having a conversation with me and signing thousands of autographs at the same time. And he showed me the trick of it needs to be very quick.
Yeah,
you need to just come up with something that is signature to exactly. That can be like, "All right, Rob Zombie next," without seeming like you're nexting everybody, but like, and this is rock music, so he's signing boobs and and the back of things, right? So it's everything, right? He's just like, blah blah blah, as he's having a conversation, right? It was very suave, right? I was very impressed. But I'm young and impressionable, and I'm like, that is excellent advice. And ever since then, the few times it happens, I know to do my very special and one that's very quick, I can knock out in less than a second.
Wow, that's fantastic. Do you ever find you might be on a serious document though, and then you do your entertainment autograph?
Yeah. That one, no, because there's much more of a process in reading those documents. So I know to write the real one. Maybe if I'm lucky, I should try signing the other one, and then maybe it'll help me get out of that document in the future. I don't know.
Who knows? Maybe. Like, "Oh, you want my autograph? Oh, okay." Not the signature, the autograph.
Yeah, that's right.
Wow. Okay, you've given me some tips too. I think I need to change my autograph too.
You need to change that autograph, and maybe we should start closing real estate with a fake autograph.
I like the way you
think. And then you can back out of that deal.
I really do like the way you think. Now, as you've gotten older, you've also invented your own signature sound you call Latindian style. I love that. I understand why, you wanted to do Indian music with being Indian American, but why did you decide to incorporate the Latin?
All right, so all right, I'll admit this to you. So honestly, it was to impress a girl.
Oh, of
It
course.
was
Isn't that why we do everything?
right, right. It was to impress a woman, seriously, and but in all reality, especially growing up in Chicago, Latin pop is pretty popular in the United States, and so I listened to a lot of it growing up. And Chicago's got a pretty great Latin scene as well, and so I listened to it, and so I love those songs already. And those beats and those rhythms and those dances and the cultures mixed with Indian culture really, really well. Like anyone hasn't tried it, you can lay a Latin song over a Bollywood song and it will just fit. Like, it's very interesting. And, I wanted to hone in my Spanish and sing some romantic Latin music to impress this woman. And
it'll work.
And so I well, and I'm doing it, and I think it worked a little more professionally than it did romantically with her specifically. But it just sounded awesome, right? It just happened, and it just kind of naturally, because I didn't grow up studying Latin music, so the Latin music I play is kind of Indian-esque, right? Just kind of naturally, right? It just kind of comes out that way. And so it gets Latindian style. And initially the industry called it tropical fusion because they had no idea where else to place that. And so other tropical fusion artists at the time were like Prince Royce and Romeo Santos or something like that. And they did more bachata, which wasn't its own category yet either. So I would show up on like a ballad or something their way in that. And then kind of luckily appear out. I mean, Latinian style still isn't an officially recognized genre, but it's still the easiest way to describe that sound.
Yeah, as soon as we hear that name, we kind of, two combined together,
It's you know exactly what to expect it's going to sound like, right?
The
you know exactly.
like genre.
Style. All right, there you go. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, a lot of people are doing that now, because even like Toby Love, like he does the bachata with some like reggaeton, like he just kind of puts those two together. It's incredible. Yeah. Like, it's great that people are kind of inventing like these new music genres. It makes us, as listeners, it's kind of like a party in the ears,
It's a party. And what I love about those is you can choose any way you want to dance. That's a great example, right? Because you can do a reggaeton dance or a bachata to it versus, I think not too long ago, if a bachata came on, people would turn their nose up at you if you weren't dancing a bachata, which is not that easy to do, right? So...
Yes, I definitely know, because it is actually my very first business I've ever owned, but I also own a Latin dance school as well. So I do teach salsa.
You know exactly what I'm talking about.
Yeah, I do teach bachata, so I know exactly what you mean. It's not an easy dance, especially to make it look good.
It is not easy to do.
Yeah, it's funny. My beginners come in and go, "Cool, how long does it take to dance like that?" And I'm like, "Yeah, this is I've danced for 20 years, but not all Latin, but
exactly.
This is just, it takes time. But I can make sure you start looking good. I'll start teaching you some cool moves." Oh, yes. And I wanted to know too, how long did it take to come up with that name, Latindian?
Oh, that was almost a no-brainer. I think it just popped out.
Yeah.
Latindian style. I even use it on like, if I make some like food or something that happens to. My father did this on I don't know what day it was. It was a holiday. It wasn't Father's Day, but it was something maybe prior to it. And he's got like you guys have great Indian food down in Australia, so you might actually know what this is. You know what pani puris are? So like they're like a little fried bread thing, but tiny with little holes in it that Indians would put like little things in it. So he's like, I'm making nachos out of these, right? And so I'm like, dude, that is the most. So there you go. That was my father making Latindian style food, right? It just happens, right? Like he's like, I'm taking an Indian food base, and he's like, I'm gonna put like pulled pork and cheese on top of it, right? I'm like, dude, you just Latindianized food. Indian food, right? And so like that word is just, it just makes sense in a lot of situations.
It's huge in your family, obviously, that word.
Well, it is now, that's for sure, right?
Yes, I love it. Now everybody's just going to start Latindian things.
Yeah, right.
It's really hard to
Latinianize
say.
anything.
Yes.
And every time you do, I get 0.0006 cents. So go for it.
Yes. Well, I know that probably a lot of our listeners eat Indian food, and I'm sure there's probably heaps of people that knew what you're talking about. I don't like eat that much Indian food at all, but I'm not great with spice.
Even down where
I'm
you are?
not really good with spice.
No, Indian food is spectacular where you are. It's spectacular. Australian Indian food is something else. I don't know how it's so good.
Oh, you have to come back. When was the last time you were here?
It was a long time ago. It was, oh my gosh. I want to say it was probably 2008, 2007 maybe. So It was a long time ago. Yeah.
I'm sure a lot of things have changed for you. So you're going to have to come back, all right?
I know, seriously.
We're going to have to meet in person. That'll be fun.
There you go. And then you can show me the latest bachata moves.
Oh, yes, definitely. You know them too?
Well, definitely not as well as you do, I'm sure. But we can hybrid some into some new genres.
I'll teach you some stuff. Yes, we'll mash it together with some Bollywood stuff.
Oh, there you go. I bet it'll be awesome.
Yeah, see, I'm already thinking outside the box, Anand. So you've really come up with even your own unique style, not just the music, but also your hair. Very, very long. That's just, I guess, your signature style now. Is that kind of why you've kept it like that? And does it ever get annoying and is it dangerous to kind of do the guitar while you got long hair? You don't want to get stuck in the strings.
Yeah. But it's my hair. It's been that way since I was a teenager. I started growing at 16. I'm sure it was only here then. And then it was probably this length by 18. And the best part about it is it really angered my parents and probably the community at large.
So
like, if you're gonna fight some social stigma on it, it becomes part of it, right? Like, so now it's been with me through some hard times that it itself has caused. So now, it's a big part of me. And yes, it has gotten caught in car doors. Oh, why, thanks. But yeah, to answer your question, it definitely it's been jammed up in things and caught in car doors and stuck in strings and all sorts of. Or the worst part is if you do this move with a guitar, it definitely likes to take a piece with it.
Ouch! Like I'm just thinking about the car door thing. Like you get jammed in the car door and you walk away and you're like,
Oh yeah. That's the annoying one. Totally.
Oh my goodness. I guess you need to put it up a little bit more. Now, also another really cool thing with the Latindian style is you actually do have a podcast with that same name. What made you want to start a podcast? It sounds like you really love to talk.
You found that podcast? That podcast is so obscure.
I love it. And I did know what was it, the last episode that was up online was like December last year. So I'm like, are you making more?
That's awesome. That's awesome. That's hilarious. That is the most sporadic podcast ever. I've had such a hard time on sticking to the schedule that initially was, because where that came from was I had a lot of content. I used to do these behind the scenes from the Grammy Awards with another guitar player, a friend of mine. And we would just, as soon as the Grammy Awards were over, we would just do a quick audio. And this started before podcasts were huge. A quick audio behind the scenes of us doing shout outs, of telling people, because a lot goes on that nobody on television gets to see, right? So we were able to get some inside scoop and some gossip and some nonsense. And so like what we did, and people would want to hear what was going on, who we saw, what we ate, all that nonsense, right? Mm-hmm. And those used to get a lot of listens, and we used to do them just for fun. And they would come out on iTunes maybe, right? Or on occasionally Spotify or something like that. And then that just kind of rolled into our own thing. And then when podcasts came out, and at the same time, I was doing other things like commenting on like fashion, which was Latindian style. And then I've got a whole food side and all that. I'm like, well, I've got all this content and we're talking about it anyway. And now everyone's bugging me to do a podcast, right? So like, why don't we roll it into this podcast? And there's some video versions here that are, unfortunately, I think are only available in the States and the UK on the Roku platform. But a lot of it is the audio from those video versions or video stuff like that on that podcast, and that's how a lot of those episodes are. So it's so random. It's so random with me and other musicians or other people. We'll just be talking about stuff. We'll be maybe sometimes at the Grammy Awards talking while we're at the Grammy Awards, or we'll just be randomly, in somebody's studio somewhere.
So are you gonna do more?
I should probably do more. I do have stuff in the can that should actually be put up there. But that is a good reminder, because you forget. I forget. It's not like you where you've got a whole professional show going on, right? Like I forget. I'm like, all right, the album's out. All right, I've got this going on. I did this. All right. It's like, oh yeah, there's a whole platform here where I should probably be releasing that content.
Oh, I was starting to think.
So
I was
yeah,
like, how do you even have time for that?
You got to make time for that, right? If I remember to do it. If I remember to do it.
That's all right. I think we'd prefer you to put the effort into the music and stuff, Armin. You keep doing that, all right? Yeah.
And as you know, running a podcast is a lot of work. I didn't realize how much work it is, right?
Oh, yeah.
Like it is not, you're just getting to just talk about stuff, right? Like the amount of production involved and prep. And you're like, wow.
Actually, if you're doing it by yourself.
You might as well be recording a new album. You might as well be recording a new album or hosting a TV show. I don't know, I've heard you put it this, right? So.
Absolutely. So that's why I'm like, you gotta figure out, I guess, what you want to put more time and effort into. So
Sure.
Yeah.
But it's good to know that it's still up there. I forget about it, and I'm glad you reminded me. And there's stuff there that actually could release and should release.
I mean, December last year wasn't that long ago. So what, 6 months ago? Like it's not like It's been years and years.
Yeah. Yeah, not that long ago at all, actually. So
yeah, man, who knows? Maybe I've sparked the love of podcasting back in you. Otherwise, you can just come back on this show, right? And then that's your little dose of podcasting.
Sounds good.
You've also written heaps of books, as well, along with your music. One book I'd love to talk to you about is Achieving Your Dreams by Controlling Your Mind, The Secret of Meditation. You mentioned in your little promo video for the book that meditation helps you with your songwriting process. So has meditation always been in your life, or has it only been since you've gotten into songwriting?
That's a good question. I think I got into meditation probably around the time as a teenager.
As
a college kid.
Exams and stuff.
All right, as you're right, yeah. So and you get a little hippie like too as you get into college, right? So like there's a lot of that sort of exploration that I will keep G-rated, as we're talking about in your on your show here, right? So there's a lot of that exploration goes on, and I think that's kind of where the spirituality side of where I took, I think, Indian and Hindu culture and Buddhist culture a little more seriously versus just the stuff we only do at holidays with the family, right? Which and I think I definitely got into it then, and I was already songwriting then, but then I think it worked almost instantly for all aspects of life when I really started getting into it as a teenager, and it definitely like helps with the creative flow and all of it, and just not being all over the place. And one problem with songwriting, especially if you have to write a song by a certain deadline, is you're all over the map, and it doesn't sound very good to you, and you just got to do it, and then you're like, well, do I do something formulaic? What do I do next? I don't like how this sounds. Where am I to go from here? You got this structure. Is this the melody I want to do? Lyrics are always the hardest thing for me. The songs, I will assure you, the songs that you probably like listening to are probably written by others, because that is like my biggest challenge, especially lyrically. So that's always best to outsource. But without the ability to center myself, I think that's helped a lot when in those moments where you're just like, writer's block, for lack of a better term, right? And then you just kind of get into that space, and then you're like, oh, okay, I will just go with the flow now, and whatever comes out will be it.
Yeah, meditation is very powerful, and obviously it's been working for you, so keep it up. And another book as well is Rockstar Recipes, the cookbook, guys. Very interesting, resulted in a TV show of the same name as well,
right,
on Amazon. And you said in the past that, being even on tour kind of led you to being healthy. So what was the wake-up call for you? Did you just feel crap all the time?
Oh gosh, rockstar life is so different compared to what I thought it was when you think of rock stars in the 80s and 90s. And a lot of my idols, because back then they're partying and they're going hard and they're very hedonistic and do not care about what they're putting in their bodies at all the time, right? But it's a different life. Their life turned off when, at night. And I think by the time I got to the game, it was more of a 24-hour world. And if you stop at 3 a.m, suddenly you realize, hey, at 6 a.m, I got to do an interview in Thailand, and I've got to dial into, and I have no idea what's going on, and I feel like crap. I don't have any energy. And one of the biggest, I met a couple of my idols. One in particular, I don't know if I should throw him under the bus and name his name, but one particular big 80s rock idol. And I got to do a thing in it with Vegas, and huge idol of mine, right? And he was so out of shape when I met him, and he went to go introduce his fiance's name, and he forgot her name. This is his fiance. He's like, oh yeah, and this is and I'm like, dude, right? Like, he picked it up finally, or she might have actually spit it out for him because maybe she's used to this. And I was like, wow, you're kind of a mess. And that was kind of a wake up call to that, because he was such a huge influence and an idol of mine, right? And it was still really cool to see him. And again, I don't want to throw him under the bus and then criticize him. And I'm sure if he's watching this, he knows exactly I'm talking about him. I'm sure he knows it. He knows it. And I know he was going through hard times too, because there was a recent documentary about that band that came out, where I learned, oh my gosh, that same year he was going through some hard times. I should have given him less of a hard time, right? But
you don't know what people are going through.
You don't know what people are going through, right? I should have criticized him a little less, but it was, at least the benefit was the wake up call to that. All my bandmates would just want to go through fast food and drive-throughs and just eat horribly. And I'm like, I don't want to live like this. I want to, have my protein macros through the day, right? I want a calorie count. I want to make sure I'm getting right. Like, this is my preferred lifestyle, even though I love to indulge in food and I love it. My preferred lifestyle and how I feel is when I'm in a very disciplined, almost obnoxiously so, to the point where it's annoying to everyone around me, where I want to be on a 16/8 fast, and once it hits 4 o'clock, I'm not eating a thing again until 8 a.m. the next day, and I'm going to get in my 100 grams of protein and my, in my olive oil and whatever nonsense that I plan for myself, right? So, and that is very, very difficult to do on the road. Not to mention, American food is great when you're on the road in, let's say, Southeast Asia. It's awesome. Very easy to live my lifestyle in Southeast Asia. The food tasted great. Latin America, very easy. In the United States, our food does not taste that good. Just to be very blunt, we are flavor challenged as well as health challenged in what our food is. And it's actually a struggle. It's actually a struggle. People look at you weird. Like, you will be the only person who orders, can I have my tea with no sugar in it, please? Right? And they were like, what are you talking about? I'm like, please make this. That's all you have to do. It's not that hard. Like, you'll be at a coffee, like, just give me the tea. I will make it myself, right? But it's sacrilege to them, right? Like,
give you one less step. You don't have to put the sugar in it.
Just one less step. I have it, and this is an Australian term that I learned that I actually forced on America, and I got Americans to learn it. I'd be like, flat white, right? Like, that is an old term I learned in Australia. I'm like, this is exactly what I was looking for, that I'm trying to educate Americans. I'm trying to describe them how to make. I'm like, flat white. And I'm like, and when you say it, it makes sense to somebody intuitively, right? I'm like, that's it. Just leave some room for milk. I will handle it myself, right?
Yes.
And food wise too, right? You just be like, do not, just don't deep fry it, please. Don't. Like, that's all I'm asking, right? And you'll be surprised. There are a lot of American restaurants where it'll be like, that's the only way we will make it for you, sir. Like, we're not going to not deep fry this fish. You're like, I'm screwed, right? So
it's like, I'd rather just not eat.
Which is what I've done, right? So eventually I had to just figure out my own recipes that I could make easy for me, who I'm not culinarily trained, in a hotel room, that I can make food that I can take with me wherever we're going, right? And that's what I want. And so a lot of those recipes came out of that. And a lot of them I borrowed from, like, my mother and my grandmother and my aunt, right? Like a tofu salad is pretty easy to make, and that's not my original recipe, right? But there's like some cool ones and stuff that I picked up along the way.
Fantastic.
And it was really fun. The best part about Rockstar Recipe is the book. Now, the book is kind of healthy and it's fun. It's got a lot of anecdotal stories of, meeting other rock stars and our shenanigans, and, and some some travel stories gone haywire while trying to eat healthy. But the focus of that book is trying to eat healthy. And I got a lot of mail and a lot of messages from people who actually like got healthy from reading that book. They initially got it just to read some raunchy rock star stories. And they're like, you know what? I tried these recipes. Some of them get pretty raunchy. You probably should be at least 16 to read that book. You should maybe, or at least skip the stories and go straight to the recipes if you're under the age of 16. I'll say 13. I'll say 13 to be fair, just to be nice.
Yeah.
But, but that was really cool to see that some people tried it and they're like, oh yeah, this worked. And I actually got a hot sauce endorsement out of that deal, because part of the thing is I used to travel with hot sauce bottles everywhere I go, because American food is so god awful, right? So I would have to douse it with spices everywhere I went, no matter where you are. At least if they'll make it healthy, they just won't season anything, right? So you're just like, all right, I have my hot sauce bottle. So I got to create this, because of that book, got to create a signature hot sauce styles, right? With this hot sauce company.
Congratulations.
It was super fun. It was super fun to do, right? So then I don't know how available they are outside of the States, but like there's these Anand Bhatt hot sauce bottles, which are hilarious to me, right? Because I know nothing about running a hot sauce business. They've just licensed my name for these flavors I got to help make. And I got a bunch of hot sauce, obviously, that I got to take with me everywhere I go, right?
Yeah. Your actual hot sauce, with your name on it.
My actual hot sauce versus, the general hot sauce, Louisiana sauce that I would maybe keep in my pocket, some generic hot sauce, right? Or some Mexican sauce I keep with me, right? But I had no idea. I had no idea that my fussy eating could so nicely parlay into something like you just have no idea when that happens. And then the TV show was the complete, hit me over the head like, oh, how would I? Okay. Now the TV show, I got to warn you, this has nothing to do with healthy food whatsoever. It is a fun TV show because nobody would watch it otherwise. If I'm making tofu salad on a show, nobody would care. Nobody would care about me. But so that show happened during COVID times.
Yes.
During lockdown. We were all locked down for a good year. Like just life shut down. Not as badly as you all were down there, but not as bad. Because my friends down there are like, yeah, we can't even visit other states. I don't leave the house. And I'm like, oh, wow, right? Like we were able to travel. Yeah, hibernating. Which again, I personally did not mind that lifestyle because, I meditate and I now know how to cook for myself. So it was not a bad lifestyle. I actually got disciplined, got some projects done during that, lockdown. But that show was super fun because the whole premise was chefs around the country, because their restaurants are closed as well now, right? So they're not doing anything. So chefs around the country mailed me ingredients, all packed in dry ice, really cool things, and their signature recipes. And the whole premise was if I were able to make their signature recipes alongside them and while in my home during lockdown, to see how well that turned out, right?
Very similar to Selena Gomez's show, Selena.
Very similar. It was yeah, right. And that model was an American chef, Guy Fieri. I don't know if he's made out there, but he actually pioneered that model for his show, and that actually was the inspiration for everyone else's to be able to because he's like, why are we locked down? I've got this big ranch. Why don't restaurants just send me their stuff and we can continue working instead of shutting down the entire network?
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, so that's a fun premise, and I did not stay healthy with that premise because restaurant food. I mean, I'm getting fresh seafood sent to me in dry ice, right? I'm like, okay, I'm now gonna make a seafood paella today with a ridiculous amount of oil and fat, right? But it tasted great. It was super fun. It's
all good. Did we all kind of gain some weight during lockdown? So it's all good. Just a little break.
That's right, that little break.
Oh, well,
then we all have to hustle to get back into it, right?
Yes, it seems like you're back on it now.
I am back on it now, although it would be nice to find that balance between, that nice, fun lockdown hedonism, right, and some nice, healthy balance.
Well, I'm always up for new recipes, so I better go get the book.
Oh, for sure, you'll love it.
I can't wait.
The book will definitely keep you more healthy than that show. But that show's some fun watching. To watch me screw up a
but it's good entertainment,
sure.
So depends what you want, what you're looking for. Now, I have to talk about some of the artists that you've also been able to be seen with on TV throughout your career. People like Usher and Romeo Santos, Queen Latifah, Steve Tyler, Zoe Saldana, so many more. Who was your favorite to work with or meet?
Oh, you got to throw me the hard question.
I know.
All right,
To me,
so
I'm like, oh, Romeo Santos as like a Latin dancer. I'm like, oh my God, would love to meet him.
seriously, that was super awesome. Oh, how am I going to narrow it down to a favorite? Well, you know what?
Okay,
I'm gonna
top
start
five?
throwing about top five. Yeah, we can do a top five. And out of those names, so actually, some of my favorites won't be recognizable names because I'll be like, dude, I love meeting you, and nobody have like, who is that guy? And it'll be some obscure Nicaraguan salsa artist, right? So, but you know,
Yeah, we want the big
Romeo
names.
Santos. Yeah, yeah, exactly. So people watching this actually know who we're talking about. Romeo Santos and Usher were at the same time, and that was super fun. That was extremely fun. What a night that was. That was my first time getting to walk the Latin Grammy red carpet.
Yeah,
And
first Indian
and
American,
so
right? Woo!
right. And it was like, and I'm like, wow, so already I'm already having a great night, right? Like already, right? Like this is super cool. And the Latin scene is so much more fun. I have to say than the regular Grammy scene because everyone's for some reason everyone's having more fun on the Latin side, and it feels more everyone's kind of a little more grouchy, and this is work on the regular Grammy side, right?
Oh,
It's
really?
a little more like we need to keep up appearances for television and sell records, feel to it versus hey, this is one big party night. They're actually having fun at the Latin Grammys, right? Like so, it was super cool, right? And so on my side, I had a car endorsement, exotic car endorsement for the entrances. So I had access to a Lamborghini and a Bentley, and I forget what the other car was. There's some other fancy car. And so we had these couple extra cars, and my publicist, I see the gears turning in her head, and she's like, let's coordinate the walk-in entrance with Romeo Santos and Usher and give them some free cars, right? Obviously, we don't get to keep these cars, right? But like, we're gonna, right? We get to arrive in them, and it's really fun, and it's super cool. And Usher's been famous for a very long time to the point where he does not know how to drive. So he's never had to drive himself, apparently, from what I gathered, right? And I'm not a big fan. I'm not a good stick shift driver either. So me driving myself onto a carpet in a Lamborghini with it installing the clutch is probably not a good idea, right? So we're like, oh, why don't we do this? And the camera, right? And the cameras are on the passenger side, right? Because we're pulling up in the States, we drive on the left, and the cameras are on that right, and it would just make more sense. But fine, the exotic car company's like, we'll get drivers, and all this is going on. So I'm already getting pretty tight with Romeo Santos and Usher because suddenly I'm the dude with cars, right? And so we're and they were super nice, right? Like, and so we got to coordinate our red carpet entrance together, which was really fun. And, Usher being like, I can't drive. I'm like, I don't want to drive stick, right? And so like we got to come in with these cool and get out on the correct side of the vehicle and do that walk-in. And I mean, it was so bad. Like I was super, like I'm a huge Romeo Santos fan, but I was super starstruck a bit with Usher. And like, here's the thing, when you walk onto, I'm kind of used to it because they coordinate red carpet entrances. So, you have your interviews. There's one, it's almost like press junkets, right? Like there's one after another that you walk to and you do your interview with this channel. Then you walk over and do your interview with this channel. So I'm all set to do this. When you walk onto a carpet with Usher standing next to you, all of a sudden you don't exist, right? Oh, yeah. Immediately you're like, oh, it's Usher time, right? Like it's which makes sense. And I'm also like Usher, right? And it's very cool to. I was starstruck because there was a very surreal moment where I'm like, well, here's Usher, where there's cameras taking our pictures. We're supposed to be talking, and here's Usher having a conversation with me, just like I'm some dude, right? Like, and I remember that surreal moment because all I'm thinking is, oh, cool, I'm having a conversation with Usher, right? And all he's thinking is like, oh, we're having a conversation with, right, about something. I don't even remember what it was about, right? So And then I feel kind of bad because I'm such a huge Romeo Santos fan that it took me a while to notice that he was also on the other side of me, right? So there's this hilarious picture of the three of us on the carpet, and Romeo Santos is like looking off in the distance, poor guy, right? Like as we're coming in the same thing, he's looking up with this way, and Usher and I are talking this way, and like, and every time I see that picture, and it goes around, I think it went around Wikipedia, and it goes around because it just looks like I'm not trying to snub Romeo Santos. I'm like a huge fan. I owe him a lot. He's a big influence. But you know, it was just whoever got that shot at that time was for that, you know, millionth of a second moment where that was going on, right?
Yeah. Well, you didn't think you were going to be so starstruck by Usher.
Yeah, and you know, and then he invites me to his after party afterwards, right? And like, so like, and next thing you know, at the end of a really cool night, it's like, all right, let's go hang out at Usher's party, right? It was just a really fun night, right? Like,
just
very cool. And poor
moment.
Usher, yeah, and poor Usher. Here's something I learned with some artists, depending on whose after party is what. Usher, and he's been working since he was a kid. I don't think he gets to know a normal life. He's been famous for a very long time. So that poor guy, I watched him do birthday shout outs one after another for hours at his own after party, right? So I think he was working.
Definitely.
Right.
By the end of the night, he's like, I'm just ready for bed.
Right. Yeah, seriously. And I think that's just his life, I'm guessing, right? I'm like, I wonder if he gets to socialize, right? Or if like an Usher party is a party paid for by Usher, where the rest of us are hanging out and he's doing shout outs for people, right? I just wonder that sometimes.
Yeah, that's very true. Kind of made us think about it now, haven't you? You're very good at telling stories too, and I've heard you have some other ones. Do you have time for that, Anand? Because I know we've already been...
I am totally. It's the evening where I'm at. I'm done for the day, so.
Oh, okay, good. I was just like, wow, we've been talking a long time, but I've been loving every second of it. I don't know whether you need to go have dinner though. That's why I'm like, I'm making sure.
You are very lucky. I'm on my very OCD 16/8 fast, so that dinner ended 2 hours ago, and I will not eat a single calorie until tomorrow morning.
Oh, fantastic! So awesome. Let's just keep talking then. All right. Well, please tell us about your really fun story about how you managed to escape a cartel in Colombia by dancing your way out of trouble. I'm like, what? That's something that you shouldn't just be randomly writing on your bio. I'm just like, huh? What? I have to ask about this.
Oh, man. I was so happy to be alive, too. That's probably why I started revealing that. So the Latin side of the business will, how do I put this delicately? I can't. It tends to end up in dangerous situations that you may not want to.
Yeah,
right?
It can be dangerous.
I mean, that side of the business is run and owned in part. I'm not going to say, I mean, the entertainment business in general, right? Let's say in general, right? Has some, has their share of ties, right? Let's not say with who or whatever, right? So like, but you will
use your imagination, guys.
Use your imagination, please, right? And I also like to explore around. So I tend to get myself into, if I'm in a country, I tend to like, if somebody's like, don't go there at night, I'm gonna be like, oh, now I have to go there at night, right? Like, so I'm like, nah, you just like, I have to, right?
This is like
so
that
like,
inner child in you. I need to go against what people are saying.
I need to go. I need to see if I can, see something cool and extricate myself out of trouble, right? So like, I mean, that's not always my total intention, but I tend to end up in those, and especially in, Latin America, and where I work my way through often is a lot of countries that are known for a lot of this. I'm often in like the Dominican Republic or Colombia or Nicaragua, and I will be in places where if you have to make an active effort to avoid trouble, let's put it that way, right? And so I in that particular instance, I was recording a song in Colombia. So I'm down there for a good month. And in Colombia, it's Medellin, which if you've heard of Medellin, you've only heard of it from Narcos, right? You've only heard of Medellin from that whole thing. That's where the cartel and all of that is all that, right? And it's a beautiful city. They're kind of embarrassed about that history, but that history has actually caused a lot of, believe it or not, economic growth and infrastructure growth for that part of the world too. So they should, you get mixed feelings about it, right? Because those cartel leaders actually gave back and put money back into the infrastructure, right? So there's it's interesting. But the truth of the matter is, it's still not the safest place in the world. So, and in this play, in Colombia, they would not accept American dollars. So I'm already having to find places to exchange American dollars for pesos. So I'm already having to ask around to find black market, money exchangers somewhere, right? So from day one, in order to feed myself, I'm already sliding into trouble, right? And finding these things. And it's kind of funny, and you will appreciate this. I had to come up with this ridiculous backstory on why I have American dollars on me. So people aren't like, who is this guy? We need to murder him now, right? Like I need to. So this story I came up with, which seemed to work, at least pretended to believe me, was I'm like, look, I speak great English. And my other story is always I come from India. Never admit you're an American anywhere, and I'm like, I come from India and like I speak great English. And so what I've been doing is in the touristy area, I've been teaching gringos on how to dance bachata, and they only pay me in American dollars. That was literally my backstory. I pretended I was this off the street,
Indian
that I'm supporting
Latin dance
myself.
teacher.
Right. That I'm like to this like, and keep in mind, and I'm hopefully nobody really recognized, because I do have fans down there, but I don't think the black market, old men there. I think my fans down there are like women aged like 20 to 50 maybe. So I'm lucky. I didn't get very many eye rolls. They bought the backstory at least, right? I didn't get followed home. So this is my backstory and why I'm showing up every day with, $20 to $40 at a time to exchange, right? Because it's, why else would I be in a country that does not want American dollars? And so in these exchanges in these not so great areas, I meet an expat fellow, an American, and he's riding his bike through, and he's down there, and we start chatting, and he's like, "Oh, I'm down here documenting. I'm making a map of old Escobar cartel houses that are kind of still running, but like there's obviously you can't tell anymore." And he's like, "Do you want to just join me on?" He's like, "Your Spanish is a little better than mine. It would be fun, and we can hang out. Do you want to kind of join me and see these cartel houses that are like they're mansions, but you can't tell, and they're in the middle of town, in the middle of other stuff going on, right?" And of course, I'm like, "Sure, that sounds fantastic."
Let's
right?
get
like,
myself into more trouble. Yeah.
I mean, I need to see this, right? Like, I'm like, that sounds great. I'm like, what a fun project this guy's on. He's like, he's making a map of cartel houses, right? Like, that's like, how, like, that sounds great. And he is noticeably very white, which, so he's already in like the greatest amount of danger. Right? Like, he's like, you should not be walking around noticeably white in a lot of Latin America, right? And so I'm like, sure, let's do this. So we visit a couple. It's very cool. And, it's, you knock on the door and like, it's interesting. And like, somebody will answer the door and you just kind of go inside and because they still do stuff in these cartel houses. So you just like, I just want to, I'm coming in to check things out, right? Or, I'm your connect from India. I don't know, right? We're knocking on the doors. Exactly. We're literally knocking on the doors of
let's see how close we can get to
houses.
death without getting there.
But people were really cool about it because they were assuming we were going to probably conduct some business or something's going on there, right? Or I'm bringing a white guy with me to, get him to buy things, right? So, so we get to this one, and so for the most part, we go in, he makes his little notes, mental notes in his head, and then, takes out all of us, and we, and we get out. And so we get to this one, we open the door, and a lady opens the door, and she's like, "Sure, come on in." Very welcoming, right?
A lady.
Very welcoming. A lady. And she does not ask any questions whatsoever on why we're there. She's very welcoming. Sure, come on. So we come in and then we get seated. We get seated into this very nice, like a living room area. with couches and stuff like that. And you know, she starts asking us if we want anything to drink, you know, and so thing I'm with, he's, you know, he, of course, he orders himself a drink and he's having a drink at every time. And then at the same time, two more touristy white guys come in and escorted by a Colombian man. And it is a very, very drunk, belligerent Irishman, very noticeably loud, and an absolutely ridiculous, stereotypical 10-gallon hat, old man Texan, right? And they are very loud. They are obviously very high and very drunk. And they obviously knew exactly where they were coming. So they sit down next to us. These guys proceed to order large amounts of cocaine. And like more drinks are coming in. And this gringo friend, right? This white dude I'm with is very excited to see other white folk, right? Very excited. And so next thing I know, he's completely dropped his guard and he's, you know, he's snorting coke and drinking and they're having a great time. They're talking about cricket and all sorts of nonsense stuff that, you know, I'm gonna sound very racist now. The nonsense stuff that white folk, when they get high, talk about, and it's gonna be about cricket and sports. I'm sorry, it's very racist. It's just something I was getting bored. I will not talk about sports, right? If in this situation, right? So my, you know, danger signals are starting to go off a little bit as I'm seeing a lot of this happen, and I'm thinking, I'm like, you know, we really should probably go soon. Right?
Like, we're only going off now and not earlier.
Well, I mean, earlier is not that unexpected, but now like things are starting to happen. And, you know, next thing I know, after these guys are loudly partying and talking, 3 stunningly beautiful women get dropped off. Dropped off. They didn't come from anywhere. Like they were dropped off from elsewhere. And, oh, I'm sorry, 4 of them. There's 4 of us. So 4 stunningly beautiful women show up. 1 for each of us, apparently. And they come in and they just sit down next to us. And I'm like, what is, right? Like, so I start having conversation with them because these 3 are like, they're completely boring me. They're so belligerent. They're talking about their favorite TV shows and sports and, you know, complete nonsense, right? And I'm very shocked. I'm like, there's like 4, literally, as I'm sure the most beautiful women they have ever seen are here, and they're still talking about sports, right? Like, so, like these, like I completely have like disengaged from those 3, and I'm like, I might as well at least talk to these 3, see what's going on. Come to find out, they have been ordered for us. They are our entertainment for the evening. I'm like, am I allowed to swear on your show? I'm trying not to swear on your show. I have no idea.
That's all right. I can bleep it out.
Well, I won't bleep it. I will share it because I'm like, oh, right. At this point, right? I'm like, now we have crossed the limit where we really should get out of here now, right? And lo and behold, the lady that let us in comes in and we start, and there's a lot more going on. There's talking, and these were actually very interesting. I'm having a great conversation actually. Like their lives are interesting, like crazy interesting, and they're super hot, right? Like so I'm like, all right, when you talk to these ladies, all of a sudden a bill arrives, and as you can imagine, I don't even remember the amount, but as you can imagine, mountains of cocaine, alcohol, and 4
ladies,
very expensive ladies of the night, right? And
we're like,
so,
we didn't order any of this.
I'm like, we just came in here to look around, remember? Right? Like, this is like, we just wanted to see what you had going on, right? Like, this is like, and so apparently I am told, as I explain, I'm like, oh no, this is none of us. This is whatever these 2 guys ordered, right? Like, we have nothing to do with this. And she says, no, this is not true. This is going on in Spanish. And she's like, this is not true. The other Colombian guy who came apparently said that we are with him because it is a thing there to bring tourists around if you're Colombian, to take them places and get a commission of the illegal stuff that you take them to, right?
Yeah.
So he apparently saw us and said, oh yeah, those 2 are with me as well. and they're gonna foot the bill, right? So this guy, right? And we're like, oh no, like there's no way any of this is happening. So as you can imagine, we are now in a serious situation because we don't have money. We didn't bring money to pay for this ridiculous bill, right? Nor should we want to stay, even if we did, because it's already escalated to a very unsafe, right, situation. And the guy I'm talking to is too high and drunk to get what I'm trying to tell him. I'm like, we need to get out of here now. Like this is, they're not taking no for an answer. I've tried to explain to them, like we are not with these dudes, and like, too late, right? You're on their tab, right? Like it's too late. You need to come up with this money now. Things are not going to end well for you. Basically, is the message I'm getting directly to my face, right? So I'm like, we need to get out of here. So finally, I explained to him, and I'm like, I don't want to leave him behind either, right? And at this point, I am no hero. I'm perfectly okay with leaving these other two behind. They were so annoying. I'm totally fine with leaving these two idiots behind. And so finally, I convince him we can get up, and we get up to leave, and the doors are chained shut with padlocks. So I'm like, this is it. I mean, at this point, we have come to terms with this is it. So he's kind of got a whole c'est la vie thing. At this point, he's like, you know what? We're gonna die in the next hour, right? Like this is coming upon us. We've got probably an hour left. You know, he's like, I'm just gonna do more cocaine, and like,
yep, I've had a good life. Yep, done and dusted.
Yeah, exactly. And I'm like, I gotta find my way out of this. But at this point, my brain's like, I'm not gonna get out of this one. Might as well hang out with these girls. Right? Like, you can take the cocaine. You know, I'm gonna hang out with these women, right? Like, 'cause I'm gonna die in the next hour. Let's just it is seriously down to the wire. We are going to die, right? Like there's no question about it. So some music kicks on. One of the women puts on music, and lo and behold, and it sounds like my Spotify playlist of Latin dance tunes, right? Like I'm like, this is great, right? So I'm like, great way to end my life, all right? Right? Like it's been a good run, right? And so my favorite Mark Anthony song comes on, and I get up, literally, and keep in mind, like it's YOLO at this point, right? Like I've like accepted my fate, right? Like, and I'm like, I get up and I yell, I love this song, and I just start dancing. Right. So like, I'm like, what else are you going to do? You would do the same thing, right? Yes. Like if your favorite Latin song comes on, you're like, I love this song. I'm going to dance in my very goofy fusion, Latindian style way of salsa dancing. Right. Like yes. It's so I'm dancing. Luckily for me, one of these women thought that this was the cutest, most hilarious thing that she had ever seen. Right. Just, you know, and apparently out of sheer magical luck, this was charming enough where she decided to take it upon herself to disappear for a little bit, go talk to whoever was in charge, and explain to them the situation that was going on. And sometime later, that lady that answered the door, some other tough looking guy, and you know, the woman comes back, and it was a complete 180. She turns around and she's like, "Oh, we're very sorry, but in Spanish about this misunderstanding. We hope you come visit us again soon." like all of a sudden she's like trying to get repeat business out of me, right? And she's like, "Okay," like I'm like, "Wow, this is very interesting." And she's like, "Walk with me." She goes over and locks all the locks, and out the door we go. Right? Like I'm like, we got out of this. And, you know, of course, obviously we didn't hit the next house on that stop. I think we probably hit, you know, we went to a restaurant or a bar or something.
Yeah, I think you've done enough cartel houses.
I did not hang out. Yeah, and I did not hang out with my buddy much after that.
Good.
I was like, all right.
Close to death, it's a good wake-up call.
And he was not too concerned about it, which was very disturbing. I guess cocaine will is a good,
drunk and high.
Right.
Puts all the
I'm
walls
sure
down.
he was fine with it. Right. Totally.
Yes.
Totally.
Wow.
But
You had me on the
that
edge
is
of my
how-
seat.
That is how, and it's ridiculous. That is how dancing like an Indian man in a cartel situation somehow saved my life.
Wow. Oh my goodness. I gotta say, because you've written books, you've written music, you got a podcast, everything like that. You've done a TV show. You need to get that made as a bloody movie. You had me on the edge of my seat the whole time. I'm like, oh my God, I could see this as a movie.
Oh,
Come on.
it would be, oh my gosh, it'd be ridiculous. It would be boring, I think, after one episode. They'd be like, all right, he got out alive. How's he going to dance his way out of the next one?
Dancing your way out of trouble. Latindian style.
Exactly. I'm sure that it's like a 20-minute short. I think we would run out of content very quickly.
Well, I would watch it. You got one follower.
All right. Good to know. I will pitch it.
Thank you so much for sharing that story. I know it's probably, even though, it's quite funny to talk about the whole dancing your way out of trouble thing, but I'm sure because you really thought you were going to die, that story is actually probably a bit hard to tell.
Yeah, it's way more entertaining in hindsight. Let me put it that way.
Yeah,
So,
not at the moment. Well, I would love to continue on for a little bit of fun by also playing our legendary game here on Rave It Up. Would you like to play it with me, Anand?
All right, let's go. It's game time. Oh,
It's
no.
game time. All right, so it's a legendary game here on Rave It Up. It's called the 2-minute hot seat. So all I do is I ask you various questions, and you just have to pick your preference. So it's like dogs or cats, singing or dancing. And you have to answer as many questions in 2 minutes as possible. And when we finish,
All right.
we'll see
and
where you
we're
sit
going like
on the
and no
leaderboard.
thinking, right? We're going Rorschach's test style on this. I just got to spit them out as many as possible.
Well, I still want you to give your honest answers. That's fair.
Okay.
It's a good way for the fans to get to know you better. Yeah?
All right.
All right. And because it's over Zoom, I give you 2 minutes 15 just to make it fair because there's a tiny bit of delay. All right. Are you all ready, Anand?
I'm ready.
All right.
I don't have a buzzer.
Laser focused. All right. Here we go. 3, 2, 1. Facebook or Instagram?
Facebook.
iPhone or Samsung?
I didn't even understand that one. What was that one?
iPhone or Samsung?
Oh, Samsung.
Apple or
Fans are gonna hate
Android?
me. Android.
Rap or rock music?
Rock.
Rock or pop?
Rock.
Pop or country?
Ooh, pop.
Beach or mountains?
Mountains.
Beach or pool?
Beach.
Sun or rain?
Sun.
Skiing or snowboarding?
Ugh, neither. Snowboarding.
Comedy or action?
Comedy.
Blondes or brunettes?
I gotta pick. Blondes.
Sweet or salty?
Salty.
Sunglasses or hat?
Hat.
SUV or convertible?
SUV.
Mac or PC?
PC.
PlayStation or Wii?
PlayStation.
Clean or messy?
Ooh, it depends. Let's go with clean.
Singing or dancing?
Dancing.
Dogs or cats?
Cats.
Italian or Chinese food?
Chinese.
Summer or winter?
Summer.
Kim Kardashian or Scarlett Johansson?
Ah, Kardashian.
Johnny Depp or Will Smith?
Johnny Depp.
Mall or online shopping?
Online.
Cinema or home movie?
Home, for
Ice cream
sure.
or gelato?
Gelato.
Cake or cookies?
Cake.
Cookies or cookie dough?
Cookie dough.
Family or friends?
Family.
Christmas or your birthday?
Birthday.
Night or day?
Night.
Bus or train?
Train.
Straight or curly hair?
Curly.
Eye color, blue or brown?
Brown.
Vampire or werewolf?
Ooh, werewolf.
Texting or calling?
Texting.
Los Angeles or New York?
LA.
Friday or Saturday?
Friday.
TV or movies?
TV.
And we're out of time. Woo!
Oh,
I love that you're giving your honest answers though, Anand. That's fantastic. I could just see it. How many questions do you think you
some of those
answered?
are like, I don't really have a strong preference, but let me pick one.
Yes. How many questions do you think you answered in that time?
You know what? I was not counting. 15?
50. Oh, more than that. Way more than that. I know, it actually goes quite quickly, doesn't it?
It does.
You have answered 41 questions.
Whoa!
I know, a lot more than 15.
Wow, and what is the show record so far?
You are sitting at a Zoom interviews, 16 on the Rave It Up leaderboard. And it's 46 out of the whole Rave It Up leaderboard. But, you know, there's been 154 people that have played this. So over 12 years. It's a lot of people.
Wow.
If you ever come back to Australia, all right, we can play it in person. Because then you can go quicker.
Oh, is it more quick in person?
Oh, definitely. Yes. You're going to have to just keep practicing now.
Oh, yeah, I will. And unfortunately, now you have built this very scary profile on me from these answers. You can probably hack into anything. Those are my innermost secrets that you just asked me in 2 minutes.
Hey, no, fans get to know you better. That's why I invented it. Not to hack into anything, I promise.
I just lost all of my dog lover fans. They're all like, cats.
Cats, he likes cats. Ugh. Well, we are unfortunately getting to the end of the interview now, Anand, but as a closing statement, and was probably the most important question, a little bit more serious now, knowing what you know now, what would you tell your 14-year-old self?
Ooh, good question. I would absolutely tell my 14-year-old self, don't worry about stuff. Society starts to go your way in the 2020s. So 14-year-old self grew up in a white country in the 80s, right? So like racism, don't worry about it. Don't worry about it. They get theirs in about 20 years. And it's totally serious. And don't take life too seriously.
Yeah.
Don't have to. It works out.
Absolutely. It's good for advice for our young listeners too. So thank you. Before we go, if our audience want to contact you, find out what you're up to in the future, where should we go? Where should we go follow you?
I think the best place lately is Spotify. Spotify's been doing a good job of updating like extra content and news and pictures and stuff like that, even though it's not very social. Spotify is great. And then I am avoiding TikTok like the plague until somebody pays me to do it.
Me too.
So I am, nice, good for you, exactly. And so I am.
I'm just like, it's just a phrase. It'll just wean out, you know.
I said the same thing about Instagram, but Instagram. So Instagram, Twitter, and Facebook are probably still the top three, and YouTube. YouTube's always a good, strong place for a lot of stuff.
And it's just under your name, Anand Bhatt.
Under my name, Anand Bhatt, and I'm sure there's multiple channels on YouTube, but Instagram is the real Anand Bhatt, Twitter is Anand Bhatt, Facebook is Anand Bhatt Rock.
Oh, perfect. Love it. And thank you so much for coming on our show today. I really appreciate your, what was it, an hour and 15 minutes? So thank you. Great stories.
Awesome. And I'm glad we were able to knock this out in good with the time difference we have going on right now. So I love the show. This is a very fun show. So it's my pleasure.
Thank you so much. Are you welcome on any time, okay?
You bet.
Yeah, come back on when you got some other stuff to talk about. I know there was even some other stories that maybe we can talk about another time that I had up my sleeve to chat about.
Oh, there you go. I'm sure you know it all now. I'm sure
I do.
You got it all.
I think I do. I feel like I just know your life now, you know? And please let me know if you ever come back to Australia, okay? And I'll let you know if I'm ever in Chicago. Never actually been there. Awesome. It was on my list. I've been to America twice, and we did 6 weeks in one trip 1 year, and then the second year did another 6 weeks, but it was mostly, we never actually went to the east side. So
you didn't? Okay.
No, it was all the other side, all the west.
It's very urban. It is nowhere near as fun as Australia.
Oh,
I mean, Australia's got everything when you float around. Like Melbourne is super fun, and then I don't know where we went and saw these tiny penguins. You probably know exactly what I'm talking about. I think it was up north. But
yeah, I know you. I forgot what it's called though. But yeah, I know what you mean.
Yeah, I mean,
I think because I live here, I just take it for granted.
Yeah, you all take it for granted. Australia's way more fun. Everyone's so cool for no reason whatsoever.
We're very chill. Well, you're welcome back anytime, all right? Anytime you want to come over for our great Indian food and just have a chill vibe, let me know, all right? I'll show you around some cool places.
I am there.
Take you on to the Latin dance scene, all right?
Very nice.
You can add your Indian style into it. I love it. Well, I hope you all enjoyed today's interview. If you'd like to check out any of our other interviews, please visit our website, raveituptv.com. All of the podcasts and videos are there for you to enjoy. And while you're there, please also check out our book, Knowing What I Know Now, as well as a mini ebook that I wrote last year called Staying Strong, Finding Inner Peace During Hard Times. And if you would like to further support us, me and my team at Rave It Up, please also visit patreon.com/Rave It Up. You can pick a membership tier that works with you and your budget for as little as $4 a month. How cool is that, right? And in return, you get bonus content and free stuff. How could that get any better, right? But for now, thank you so much for watching, and we'll see you next time. Bye!